Good afternoon, I am Luis Ramirez. This is my product for my senior project, and in this product you will see 2 interviews that I conducted with different individuals that have different backgrounds towards racial profiling.
My name is Roger Vargas. I work for Idaho County Sheriff's Office.
Yeah, Officer Vargas, today I'll be asking you a couple questions about racially profiling, and my first question for you is, what is racial profiling?
Racial profiling is when someone is targeted based on their race, ethnicity, religion, or national origin, and it's never allowed in law enforcement.
Officer Vargas, for my second question today, I have, how does racial profiling affect an officer from enforcing the law?
Racial profiling don't affect an officer from enforcing the law. When I encounter a person here in the community, I don't base it on their race, their religion, nationality. I base it on the actions that person has committed. If the person ran a stop sign, if the person had an expired tag, if the person assaulted somebody, usually I base it on those situations.
Officer Vargas, for my third question today, I have, does an officer's background affect his job?
I don't believe an officer's background affects the job I do. Me being Hispanic, I get treated equally here in the department. There's several things that we encounter in our careers that normal people will never encounter. We go by stressful days every day. Every day is something new in law enforcement, and that's what I love about the job, because we encounter so many different things. And when I first started working for law enforcement, I wanted to help people, and I feel like I'm doing that right now. And but it can get stressful. The hours that we work 12-hour shifts. We work day shifts. We work night shifts. We rotate. It can get really stressful for our bodies and our families, especially families. In law enforcement, we have one of the highest divorce rates in any job career. That's really tough for families to go through, because you never get to see your spouse. Usually they're always at work. Weekends they work. It's a tough career to be into.
So, Officer Vargas, for my fourth question, it is, have you ever been a victim of racial profiling?
Honestly, I've never been a victim of racial profiling. Before I got into law enforcement, whenever I got stopped by an officer, I always listened to what the officer told me to do. I never talked back to a person. I was never put in a situation where the person was looking at me and saying, "This guy's Hispanic, he's doing something wrong." I was never put in that part, and I always abided by the law, even before I got into law enforcement.
So, Officer Vargas, continuing with our interview, question number 5 is, do you believe racial profiling is a problem?
I don't believe racial profiling is a problem. Here in Idaho County, we don't view racial profiling. We don't do that. When we encounter people here in the community, we don't base it on their race or their religion. We base it on the actions the person has committed. I show everybody respect, as long as they give me respect back.
So my last question for you today, Officer Vargas, is, who do you think gets targeted the most and why?
As a law enforcement perspective, we target criminals. We target the ones who are breaking into businesses, assaulting a female, assaulting a person, people who have marijuana, drugs in the vehicle. I don't base it on their race or religion. Whenever I encounter or pull somebody over, I base it on the criminal activities the person has committed.
Thank you, Officer Vargas. That concludes our interview for today. I greatly appreciate you taking time out of your day to come and answer these questions for me today, sir.
Thank you.
My name is Luis Ramirez, and today I will be interviewing Mr. Simmons. I greatly appreciate you coming out here today, sir.
I appreciate it. Again, my name's Rick Simmons, and I'm a sales manager with Western and Southern Financial Group. So I work a lot with people here in our communities surrounding and within a 50-mile radius.
Okay, yes, sir. So today, to start off our interview, sir, my first question for you is, what is racial profiling?
Racial profiling to me is when someone assumes just because a person's color that they are doing up to no good. you know, so they're, and I think just that assumption is wrong.
So my second question today for you, Mr. Simmons, is how does racial profiling affect an officer from enforcing the law?
I think that if a person, maybe with, that's a hard question, because I think the officers intend generally to do the right thing. So I think if there's a situation where they're put into a position where maybe there's a group of people or something like that, it puts them under pressure to do maybe the right thing, and they just try to rush something, you know. So I think with an officer, they have to look at everybody as a human being, and we're all even. And but there's situations that occur, like with riots and stuff like that. I think that would really affect how they.
So, Mr. Simmons, continuing on our interview, the third question I have for you today is, does an officer's background affect his job?
You know, I think everybody's background affects us in different ways. You know, if the background wasn't that good and an officer is determined to make sure that his or her family, or he helps other people's family not be in a position that maybe he or she have been in their past, I think, yes, it can affect their job in a positive way. In a negative way, I don't really think it would so much a negative way. I think it's more positive. I think a person that's experienced something has the empathy to help these other people and make sure that they don't have to go through maybe something that they've seen or know somebody that's went through it. So I think it can be a positive. It's not always a negative.
Mr. Simmons, my fourth question for you today is, do you believe racial profiling is a problem?
Yes, I do, in a lot of different ways, because in the financial business, I work with many different races, and I'm in their homes. I get to know their families and stuff, and I hear their stories and things that they talk about, and things that I don't really see, but you know, they say yes, it's happening, you know, but then you see it on TV though. And so I think it is a problem, and I don't know really how it can be fixed, because I think it's a two-way street. I think people themselves have got to realize they've got to stand up and say, okay, we've got to do something about it. If somebody's looking at us and saying, okay, we're all bad because of our color or this or that, we've got to stand up and say, no, we're not. And we got to prove them wrong. And then, so I think it's both sides that have to work on that. But it's pitiful that government and law enforcement and things like that in some of these bigger cities have, where I think it is more prevalent that's going to happen. I think they need to really think about it, you know, before they go into a situation and try. And I think there needs to be some more training with these people. If they're predominantly in the Asian market or predominantly in the black market or whatever it might be, I think only those people can tell you what and how they feel. So I think the law enforcement or whatever the problem is, they need to come together as a community and mend those, you know, and I think that's something that can easily be done. if both sides will say, okay, I agree to that. But yes, it is a problem. But I think it's a problem that can be fixed if both sides want to fix it, being the people out here in the communities and being our law enforcement, teachers, whoever it might be, feels like that's a problem.
So today, Mr. Simmons, to conclude our interview, my last question is, who do you think is targeted the most and why?
In crime and stuff like that,
Yes,
you're
sir.
asking? Okay. In crime, I look at what you see on the news and stuff like that. I think you see more with the African Americans, so I would have to say, with the media out here, it seems like they're targeted the most. And I go back to, and why? I don't really know. I think a lot of it has to do with just history, and forgiving, and I think as time goes on, it's going to get better and better. But still, I think they're still targeted to a certain degree. I think, though, with so many people, the newer generations coming in here, we don't see color. I didn't see color. I don't see color at my business or anything like that. We are all God's children. And so hopefully, as time goes on, that's going to get better and better, and more people will view it that way. And if somebody does something wrong that has nothing to do with their color or their background or anything else, it has to do with them. Their wrong decisions that they made, not because of their gender, not because of their race.
Thank you, Mr. Simmons. I really appreciate you coming out here today for my interview.
Thank you.
This concludes my product. Thank you all for watching, and special thanks to Officer Vargas and Mr. Simmons.